Hello guys. Now today I am here to answer a very important question. As you read by the title, can a granny give good head? Well, you see, to answer this question, we really gotta do some research, and I mean a lot of research. Maybe not a lot of research, but we just need research, okay? Now, to answer the question of if a granny could give good head, you really need to think about it, cause grannies, they're super old, which means they got which means they know a bunch of things when it comes to world wars, some granny's been in the war, some granny's been doing this, other granny's been doing, grannies are just so majestic, cause think about it, grannies are literally the only people that could say that, hey, I met. Oh, I probably gotta censor that one, but you know what I mean. Grannies are the only people that can unironically say that, because you don't know if it's true. They're just so old that they could have done literally anything. Grannies have been through a lot of stuff, my guy, which is why I was wondering, could a granny really give good head? Well, I've been doing research, and depending on the granny that we're talking about, yeah, it's possible. Cause think about it, there are some grannies that don't have teeth. So imagine all gums on your meat. Alright? I'm talking full on gums just on your meat. Bro, imagine how wonderful that would feel. Just straight gums, straight swabber all on your meat. Straight just, it's making me hard just thinking about it, okay? And sure, people may find this question very weird, and well, the people that find this weird, they're just weird because, they find me weird because, they're not thinking outside the box, okay? Because, we over here, we be thinking outside the box, okay? We are actually doing research over here. We are actually thinking about genius things, bro. We are the F students, and we are the inventors. We be thinking about so much stuff that it's honestly the reason that all of our videos are quite genius over here, cause no one else is gonna answer the question, can a femboy pass as a trans man, and no one else is gonna answer the question, is it gay to date a trans man, cause they're just not thinking outside the box. Which is why I gotta be over here, and it's the reason why I'm the one that has to come up with the questions that no one's answering, cause no one else wants to answer them, so we gotta do it ourselves. It's quite tough out here, but people not answering the questions is the reason that this job exists, it's dead as the reason this job exists. Now, anyways, enough yapping about other stuff. Let's actually do the science behind that grainy throat. Now, yeah, grainy throat, I think it could be pretty good. Cause like grannies are old, and because they're old, that means they got experience. So the science behind granny throat should be pretty self-explanatory. Cause think about it, like grannies, like it's honestly kind of hard to find a granny that has no throat experience. Like finding a granny that has no throat experience is like finding diamonds in 2016 Minecraft. Cause like what the hell you mean that you've lived for like 100 plus years and you got absolutely no throat experience, my granny? Like, come on, granny, you're telling me you ain't get no game? You ain't got no dip back in your day? Back in your day, you were just not getting no dip. That's honestly kind of sad if a granny, lived all them years just for them to get no dip. Like, imagine no dip, not a single dip in your life. That's really sad. But enough of that. So like I've said before, you can either get a granny that has teeth, which if you're getting a granny with teeth, actually never mind, cause like a granny with teeth might also be goated compared to a granny without teeth. But like I've said before, the reason I prefer no teeth is because the head, the granny throat would be insane. Bro, imagine all the swabber, all the gums on your meat. Imagine feeling all of that on your meat from your local granny. Bro, that would feel amazing. Am I right, lads? Am I right, lads? Cause while people are worried about finding out who's the hardest femboy or whatever, I'm over here trying to find out if a granny with teeth or a granny without teeth could give great throat. Now, I think it's clear, I think I made myself very clear that a granny could give good throat, especially a granny with no teeth. A granny with no teeth, that's some great throat, my guy. Absolutely great throat. Granny without teeth, great throat. Y'all gotta try it out, okay, guys? Y'all gotta try out a granny with no teeth and just get straight gums on your meat. Straight gums. So, I think I've done a good job at answering today's genius question of if a granny could give good throat. Now, my question is, no, I don't really got a question. But, the next video might be very similar, depending on if I make it. Cause, it's pretty much the same thing, but instead of if a granny could give good throat, it's gonna be, can a fish give good throat? Now, yeah, I could throw that in here, but now unlike the granny, the fish doesn't have any experience, and you would kind of have to force the fish on your meat. And here on this channel, we do not support animal abuse. So yeah, going to have to cancel that one. So yeah, no, remember kids, get the granny with no teeth And do not put a fish on your meat.